And of course, we are at 593 days until the midterm elections. And this is episode number 19. So if you guys are tuning in, this is one between just me and Rom, where we're going to talk about some things at the state level, some things locally, and of course, things at the national level. Rom, Mr. Celebrity, how you doing, brother?
I would not say celebrity, but I'm doing good. It's been busy. It's been a busy, past couple of days, past busy week. Um, and you know, we went to the Monroe City Council meeting last night.
Yep.
Came back from there, and then today it's been an exciting week. A lot of fun stuff happening at work. Creating things, AI and cybersecurity and automation. Like that's my thing, right? So,
Right.
one of the things that I brought up last night talked a little bit about Doge, which sounds great, cutting waste and
Gotta trim the fat, baby.
increasing efficiency. Yeah, finding fraud. So all sounds good, but
Like, who wouldn't want that?
as we know, there's a wrong way to do it for sure, and
Mm,
that's what Elon doing. But it's literally what I do. One of the things I do for my job is to look at processes, look at inefficiencies, and use technology, including AI, to make things more efficient. And so it's what I love. But I plan out and identify the causes and effects. Um, and in this country today, Trump is using Doge and to hide behind cutting and decimating the government with the facade that they're doing something great, making government more efficient. They're just breaking government so private sector can gobble it up and they can ruin lives and all kinds of stuff. Regardless, anyways. So
well,
we
yeah,
went to the meeting last night. Thank you. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, I mean, but to that point, I think you were able to break it down in a very masterful way on the microphone last night, and just kind of backing up, right? What we get there, it was a pretty big day for Union County, right? Monroe is really the cultural hotspot of Union County as it relates to its mixed populations. It's heavily black comparative to our percentage across the country. I think it's 22% black, right? So folks there, they have a little bit more stake in the game. They understand the community they want to build. Give us kind of the highlights of why we were there.
Well, so the big topic. So we got you told me, hey, it's popping,
I
and
did. You were like, go
there,
get in line. I'm like, bro.
yeah. So one of yeah, you put my name down. So it took me
who
40.
who all over there?
It took me 45 minutes to get there. Usually is like a 20-minute ride. So the infrastructure here is not prepared for the type of traffic that and the influx of people that's come in. So this is one of the things that should be concerning to Union County, to Monroe. But they were concerned about drag shows and kids at drag shows and adult entertainment are being described defining adult entertainment. The other thing was potentially ending the diversity, equity, and inclusion committee within the Monroe City Council. So those were the two hot topics. It brought everyone out. They had everyone outside, uh, but it was outside because the Monroe football team had won the Class 2A state championship, so they were congratulating them. But it was a little bit of a circus outside. So yeah, that was the hot topic. So I did go ahead and I had something prepared that I wanted to say. Not
So,
not necessarily related to those two topics, but I did touch on the cultural wars, and which is just kind of the expectation at this point that we see. And so, anyways, I'll just play the quick clip and talk about it a little
yeah,
more.
let's play it. Let's play it. bitch. That's what you should have said at the end, like, bitch ass motherfucker.
I want to buy your
Old
house.
Peckerwood ass
I can pay.
motherfucker.
There we go. Get a ad plan. But yeah, so I didn't even know this guy existed until a couple months ago. And saw his tweets.
I mean, you just got here a couple months ago.
Well, a few months ago. But I saw his tweets on Twitter, and this guy is constantly promoting lies, bigotry, white nationalist ideology.
No question.
And yeah, I was like, man, so this is what I wanted to say at last month, and signed up on the wrong sheet. If anyone's there, it's confusing, and it's kind of a little bit of a madhouse. But yeah, so there was only 4 people speaking last month. This month there was like, I don't know, 15 because of all the things that were going on. So yeah, I was glad to get it off my chest, put them on notice that people are watching, hold you accountable. He speaks different, he types differently, as Steven said on Sunday on Facebook. He is not really that divisive. He portrays himself differently on Twitter. He's MAGA cheerleading mascot. He's probably got a MAGA cheerleading uniform at home, right? But so that was that. But when people came out,
let me ask you though. I mean, since you gave that really, I think just a really knockdown, drag out speech. I think when people see us go up there, or they see folks show up to these things, it seems scary, right? It seems like I don't know if I could do that, man. How did it feel for you?
Same way as knocking on the canvas doors. I mean, I spoke at the Union County
That's scary for people too, though.
Everything the first time, and it's like, it's always, again, going back to what you said, get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. And 2 years ago, in my professional world, I had never really given public speeches. So like, I had a goal in 2023 to public speak. So I ended up doing like 4 webinars that year. I did like a panel. I did spoke to an audience. So I kind of got over that. I mean, it's just something you gotta do, right? Like, if you get uncomfortable, you hit a rock.
Okay.
Don't roll over. Actually, just go through it. And so
that's right. That's right.
And I think that's going to be key for a lot of folks, because this is stuff that a lot of folks aren't used to, and they think, oh, that's not my thing, I can't do it. And after, I mean, I always kind of get a little bit nervous public speaking, but more and more it just becomes more natural, and that's what it is. So yeah, I invite, and this, we've been saying since episode 1, that this is the type of things that we have to do, especially at the local levels. Bring accountability, call them out.
Right.
And in the past couple of weeks, that's been the major theme, is like people showing up to town halls, showing them that, look, we're not taking a blind eye. We're putting it out there. We're gonna make sure the public sees this. Make sure we're watching you, because a lot is done in darkness. And I don't know if, like, nobody here knows. There's a suburb in Chicago. There's a mayor who was corrupt. She was seriously corrupt. And
not in Chicago. Chicago mayor's been corrupt. I've never heard of such a thing. What? Chicago corruption? Oh my gosh. Tell me more about this.
She did this. She was doing embezzling money and doing shady things for years, a couple of years, and unnoticed. Finally, we took notice, and a couple of weeks, about a month ago, it shit hit the fan. It turned into a fist fight. I mean, like, I wish I had the clip, but
like put your dukes up.
Yeah, like this, like, no, not put your dukes up, like pull up your pants ready to fight, because you know what I'm saying now. Like, so that's where it was. Yeah. But the dude had called the mayor out, called her a bitch, called out her name, and then somebody came from it went crazy. But like, and I'm not saying like this is what I'm like. I don't think that's what these should be like.
No, I mean, but shit, like, I mean, saying, like, if there's corruption, sure.
But now no one knew, or people knew, but like, or like they weren't paying attention, so she was able to do it in the darkness. When it came to light, then people were pissed, and a lot of people came out, and there were people who were pissed, and that's what it turned into. So I just think people.
But to a degree, you got to make a spectacle, though. Like, I mean, maybe not call the mayor a bitch or something like that, but I mean, this mayor, you're good, Mayor Burns. But it's kind of like what Al Green did at the State of the Union, or the joint statement to Congress, whatever it was called. Like, people were like, why did he do that? It was too much. But like, you got to make a spectacle. That's what politics is. Trump and the GOP, they are masters at that. I will give them that. They have no substance. They have nothing fortuitous for people, but they are great at making spectacle and then creating a narrative afterwards. What did Al Green do? What did Rom do? You know, what did the folks that showed up yesterday do? You guys made a spectacle with some really charged and loaded language. And then guess what? Folks it showed how thin-skinned and weak Mayor Robert Burns is. It showed how ridiculous all these moms for liberty types and how all these faux pastors and all these Christian evangelicals, which are nothing more than these small-minded, myopic white supremacists. We gonna break their back with our power, with our collective power, and we're gonna roll over them like the sea. So that I think is very powerful in just the way you showed up and how much people really enjoyed that clip. Because then if you go back one more time to that clip, I want y'all to rewatch this because in my video of showing my homeboy Rom, I wanted to also highlight the levity of the moment because the one thing fascists hate is laughing at them. So we're gonna show Rom again. I don't know if you can zoom in on the video as you play it, but if not, look over his left shoulder, which would be our right side of the screen. There is a black woman. I mean, her name is Rochelle. She's the chair of the Democratic Women here in Union County. So she's there. Right now. She has her hand over her mouth, already preemptively like this fool is a fool. Can't believe Rom up here. But watch her sister got it going on. Got the sound on for. Okay. Ah, face palm. Pause it right there. Pause it at the face palm because I think that's Union County right there, baby, right there.
And I
Boom.
noticed at the end, she was like, "Oh shit."
Either way, but that
Yeah,
face
that's
palm.
the thing. Is like you get in order to work for Trump, you have to be unqualified, and I think he
That's
is
correct
highly unqualified.
because he's unqualified.
But so, anyways, but to the point of this overall thing, and I noticed the people on the side of humanity and free speech and human rights, they spoke on various topics throughout the night.
That's right.
But they and the people, some of those people knew each other. I know we know some of them. And one thing I want to point out is like we can strategize better because there's if you get a certain number of people, 5 people, 6 people to sign up, then you could give a person 5 minutes to speak instead of the 2 minutes to speak, and then you could get a lot more out there. So like this crazy woman Michelle Ball, who apparently
that was a moment.
They gave her 5 minutes.
Someone before her was a queer fellow, and he was talking about he was just started listing all these Republican and pastoral sex offenders, right? Which is again, it's almost like saying wet water. But and then he starts going through the list of all these names of local. I don't know if they're all from Union County.
Yeah, all Union County. Those are all names in Union County. He was.
Those are all from Union County.
Those from Union County alone, and they were all.
God damn.
Yeah.
Well, and then at the end he had this mic drop again. Everybody had mic drops. And he was like, again, we know who it was. He was like, Michael Ball.
One more name. Yeah, Michael. And the people next to us. People next to us. Did you hear about Michael? People next to us, they looked back. They looked at their friends.
You looked at me. You're
family.
Like, and you were like, who's Michael Ball? And I was like, I don't know, some white motherfucker. Like, they look like these motherfuckers. I don't know. Because it's always some Republican white dude that's doing this shit. And they were all clutching their pearls. Come to find out, this lady who then spoke afterwards, that was her husband? Is that right? Her husband or her significant
other? So this woman, she's been doing this for 3 years on this
2 years. She's been this has been her thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she,
the children.
So her husband, we come to find out, her ex-husband was arrested for soliciting a minor in Indiana. And
he was possessed by the drag queens
for many years after this.
And kept the name, I guess.
So yeah, it's interesting how you're looking in these places, and so and I think it's just like, okay, well, if drag's not your thing, then don't go and don't take your kid. I've never been to drag. Drag's not my thing. I mean, theater's not even my thing. And so yeah, if somebody invited me, I might check it out at this point, but like it's just
That's
but I
okay
don't feel
though.
concerned to like go tell other people
You
how
don't
to
want to stop
live their
nobody
lives.
else from
But
going.
here's the thing: is like
Right.
they don't give a shit about the kids. That's what
No.
they hide behind is their
Right.
argument, but really they're bigots behind because I saw there was a woman
They're
there
biggest up front.
who also spoke. Her name was Gabby, who actually gave I thought a great speech and made great points that I was like, oh okay, like that makes sense. I'll
Oh
post it
yes,
on
yes,
the
yes,
threads later or something. People can see. I think it's worth it. But
yes.
when
That was
I
great.
saw when she walked into the parking lot where everyone's outside, and there were
Mm-hmm.
people like, and she was with her daughter, and her people were like looking at her funny, and all
Oh,
kinds of like giggles
right.
and all this stuff. But I thought this
Clutching
was
their
about.
pearls.
I thought it was about drag, in bars and kids. I thought that was what it was about. But they,
Mm.
so they showed what they were really. So that's
But it
that.
also shows their ignorance because I think to her point was that her trans identity is not the same thing as a drag queen, and what conservatives do is they conflate sexuality with gender identity
Mhm.
because they're ignorant. But as we know, for all hatreds, what is the first precursor is ignorance, right? You'll rarely see a well-informed and well-articulated bigot. They have to believe in these delusions that they tell themselves to give them the excuse to hate people. So yeah, that was a wild moment. That was a wild moment.
Yeah, and like I said, I'll post it because I thought she made some good points, and
No question.
but the thing about what's going on here is it's not as straightforward as they're making it to be, but it's like they're
Mm-mm.
creating a definition of what's adult entertainment. It says things like,
Hmm.
well, they dress like a woman, or anyone dresses like a woman, anyone dresses like a man, and it's like, well, what you got to define that, and so it's
You
again one
got
of
to
those things
absolutely
like,
define
and
that
then
shit, right?
when you quick to create these laws and these rules and everything, and you haven't they're not well written. They leave open to interpretation. Then somebody's deciding whether or not they want to enforce the law and all those things. Like that's kind of the problem. And it's personally like it's silly. It took me 45 minutes to get somewhere because there's one lane of traffic for most of the way there. Like let's focus on things that matter, the infrastructure. Let's focus on the things that they're talking about. Oh, this is proactive. Drag's been around
That was
for as long
crazy.
as I
I
can
mean,
remember. Like, what is it? What's proactive? Like, I
well, I
haven't
mean,
heard of anything. I haven't heard of somebody in a bathroom, a trans person in a bathroom doing this. But I just heard about a
never. I
pastor.
still haven't.
I heard
I
about a
keep hearing about
pastor
these
in
fucking
Union County
right,
last week.
right.
Uh,
Hmm.
so you know, anyways,
It's all
it's
projection,
not.
man. It's all it's. I was thinking like if I would have said something like I mean I was sitting there the whole night, hanging with you, and I'm
Thank you, by the
like,
way.
of course, man, and and I realized I'm like, how privileged do you have to be
To worry
that
about this type of shit.
the only thing that you're gonna complain to your government about is something that ain't even going on. Now, black folks, we worried about getting education, environmental racism, police brutality, equality in wages, all
So like I was
infrastructure,
saying,
all
like
the
cyber attacks. I mean, you don't understand. Like
cyber attacks,
cities and
all this.
municipalities are the number, like one of our top clients because they are like. And so, anyways, let's talk
Well,
about stuff. That was my whole point. It's
no,
like
what I'm talking about what the fuck is that? Fucking bugging here. I am mortally afraid of bugs. If there's a bug around me, I
oh,
will jump out of my skin. So I've seen that shit. But no, but I'm like again, but I'm talking about the people. These people that are showing up and they're clearly on some agenda. They're on some right wing agenda. But I'm like, again, as a black man who cares about education, who cares about not having my water poisoned, that cares about having access to healthcare, having access to clean food, I would be damned to go in front of a mayor and be like, you know what I don't like? Guys in dresses. And we got to stop this, mayor. Like this is y'all. How privileged are you? It's almost like when you hear Republicans over the past our whole lives say shit like, I'm a one issue voter and my one issue is the economy. I'm like, how privileged is it to have one issue? As black people, we've always had to worry about all the issues. It's a privilege to only care about one thing. It is a wild privilege. And to have people care about one thing that ain't even real, that you don't have to go to if it was in town, proves how pathetic they are. But let's move on because I know we got a little bit of schedule today. And let's move on to the state level. What's going on at the state level? We have our GOP majority in the House. They are trying to pass HB5. and basically allow permitless carry for those who are 18 years and older. This is already passed in states like Florida and Texas and Alabama and Mississippi, and as you can already tell what those states are about. All those states also have extremely high gun violence deaths in those states. Um, this is what
So
North Carolina is trying. Go ahead.
yeah, and so I have so I had my permit, concealed carry permit in Illinois. Had it last 5 years. It expired in December. It was valid here in North Carolina,
Uh-huh.
so I could carry up until December. But in December, I also took a permit, concealed carry class. You have to take, so in Illinois, 16 hours, 2 days. Had to learn all
Mm-hmm.
the laws, like da 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 da, learn safety, go to the range. To me, that's like that's just like what it is. That's
Seems
required,
normal.
because
Right.
if you don't know the laws, then how do you know when you can shoot, when you can't shoot, when you're going to be liable?
When you're breaking them.
Yeah,
Right.
you know the gun safety and all of these things, right? And then and that you can actually shoot, like you actually know how to handle a gun. So I came here. It's 8 hours here, which is still pretty solid. And the so I still haven't gotten it yet, because apparently it takes 90 days to 6 months. And I'm like, that's
Oh.
crazy. But to me, like, that's just what should be required, because a lot of people don't know how to handle guns safely. A lot of gun accidents occur in the home because people don't properly secure their guns. They leave it loaded around, accessible to kids. I just saw a article pop up the other day. A dog shoots its owner. I didn't even read the article, but that's just the
Damn,
type
dog
of
shoots his
crazy.
owner.
And then I see the ones where like kids shoot somebody, a kid gets shot. Like those literally break my
Kids
heart.
shooting kids, kids shooting themselves.
Yeah, and break my heart. And so, but here's the thing in North Carolina. So North Carolina, you can open carry already. I can go out right now and have my gun on my waist and out there. My understanding is the culture here. I've never seen it. I've never noticed it yet. Actually, I
I
have. I
have.
have a couple times, but what I'm told is like if you do that, it does raise suspicion. I think there was something that recently that happened in North Carolina with someone went into Walmart. He looked suspicious, but it's like when you have an open carry, then like how do you make that determination of like if somebody's suspicious? Because he was brown. I mean, so you never really know. I mean, that's how John Crawford
When you're hmm
in Ohio, I believe. Yeah,
Yes,
he was killed. Had a BB gun in Walmart, and somebody said he looked suspicious in an open carry state,
it's
and they went
crazy.
in, and the cops just came around the corner and shot him to death. I mean, I
No
don't
one's in
understand
jail.
for the life of me of like why police or cops would be in favor of open carry, permitless carry, because how do you
Right.
actually know who the good guy is, who the bad guy is? And really, and I know like there's a lot of black folks that love to carry guns, and love
Yeah.
they tend to lean to the right and pro Trump and things like that, but at the end of the day, like if something goes down, you're going to be looked at as a suspect first, and that's happened a lot of
Yeah.
times. And so,
I
either
mean, we
way,
get killed with no guns.
right, right,
So it's like
right,
this whole like idea of like when it goes down, like motherfucker, like look,
yeah, and
we
you
live
don't.
in a society
Mhm.
with like when you live in a country where you, your skin is a weapon, that means you're always armed.
Yeah, this is assumption, or your Superman strength.
I
Um,
mean, but I mean armed is with a
armed.
gun.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
Like just your being is
Hmm.
a threat. I mean, what did Stephen say the last episode, right? Like a threat to our white women. If your skin is a weapon, right? I'm not talking about a gun, a knife, a bow and arrow. When your skin is deemed violent, when your skin is deemed non-human, you are always armed. I'm not saying armed like, oh, you're armed to be protected, but to them, you're always armed, and they must put you down. So when I see this type of stuff of letting anybody carry guns, now also what do we know? Most folks kill intracommunally, right? But that means that you kill folks that look like you. We love this country loves to talk about black on black crime. One of the biggest boondoggles in American politics, right? But you look at the numbers, 90.1% of black people kill black people. right? 90% of Asians kill Asians. 90% of Latinos kill Latinos. 92% of white people kill white people. And in fact, white men have the highest rate of gun suicide, so much that it tips the scale of gun suicide. They're overrepresentative. Did they weigh down the number? So when they say, "Oh, the reason your streets aren't clean, the reason black folks don't vote because y'all keep killing each other," that logic could be applied to white people and say, "Well, white people kill each other to the point. Why are they still voting in high numbers? Because that's how many white men kill themselves with guns
Yeah.
because of deaths of despair, right?" So it's I look at this as a another extension of as the book I read, Dying of Whiteness, talks about. Oh, excuse me, it was White Rage by Carol Anderson. She says that, poor white men, back during the time of chattel slavery, they couldn't own the plantation. You couldn't own the slaves, right? But what did they give you? They gave you a gun and a badge, and that was a phallic prosthetic, she calls it, like an extension of their dick, having that gun. And that becomes a part of their identity. So when you hear, what's his face, Charlton Heston at the NRA meeting back in, probably the 90s, he said, "You got to take this gun out of my cold, dead hands." And John Wayne saying that, killing black people and killing Native Americans is just the American way of life. This was not in a movie, he said this. This is this cultural extension of that in a modern version. And when folks want to say, "Well, I like guns too," yeah, you liking guns as a black person or as a Latino person or as an Asian person is not the same thing as a white man having a gun, because a white man having a gun intersects with gender violence and sexual violence. The gender violence is that I'm a white man, I'm here to protect white women. The racial violence, did I say that? I said gender violence and racial violence. See, the racial violence is, what am I protecting you from? These glad-handed Negroes out here. They just want to take all of our alabaster queens, our ceramic princesses out here. Oh, my milk of magnesia. Oh, the devil done broke the mold and he done made you, girl.
What movie? Don't Be a Menace. Is that?
Don't be a menace, man. South Central while drinking juice in the hood. Come on, brother. Oh, my milk of magnesia. Oh, the devil done broke the mold when he made you. But that's what. So that's the intersection of race, of gender violence and sexual violence. But again, what does that mean? It means that whiteness is always the victim and whiteness is always the hero
Yeah.
in the exact same time, while everybody else is on the margins, hence marginalized people. But
Yeah.
this is the extension of this shit. So if they're gonna give guns to all these young white boys out here, now what do they feel like they do? They're those overseers.
Yeah. I've always been anti-gun and anti-gun violence, or aware of gun violence. My Facebook post going back.
Pro-gun violence.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's a lot of people that just have waiting for a moment.
True that.
But being in Chicago, there's gun violence, inner city gun violence, and it's just as tragic. There is gun violence in the suburbs and schools when we see those mass shootings, and they just happen in different ways. I mean, there are mass shootings in Chicago. 5 people get shot. Many people get shot. We have a weekend in the summer, it'll be 60 people shot. It's ridiculous.
What was that in the 4th of July? What was it, Hyde Park or Highland Park? What was it in Chicago?
There was a Highland Park 4th of July. My boss was nearby. She thought about going, but it's wow. And when I realized the point of no return was well, let me finish my thought. So Sandy Hook. So that's when I was like, I'm gonna have to get something. And we've seen, all of these Uvalde, and you see, if you can kill kids, and we don't see people proactively,
but you can't burn Teslas.
You don't, or you can, yeah.
Council defended Tesla, but they will not defend some kids getting their heads blown off, and you gotta identify them by their shoes.
That's when I was like, damn, how can you see this carnage of these little kids? And but anyways, like in Chicago, and people want to politicize on both sides. It's like, oh, there they go. That white boy shot up the school. Yeah, that's true. And yes, there's inner city violence, or what we call black on black crime, whatever they want to call it. But okay, let's actually approach both these situations with realness and not just a political football. and realize that, hey, these are both gun violence problems, two different problems with two different solves and two different root causes. Right. A lot. And they always talk about, oh, it's a mental health. And, he was a lone wolf and da, 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 da. But then in Chicago, they don't want to attribute mental health to it, despite the fact that these young kids grow up in what could be considered a war zone of violence. A kid going to school, 6 years old, somebody in his family got shot and killed. His friend got killed. Like, these are actually traumatic things that actually are mental health issues. And then you have these environments. So these are issues that, like, let's actually tackle them and get to the root cause. Systemic. And let's get to the root cause. Well, what created these conditions? Right.
And I was going to say, like, and to your point of like the volley shooters and the mass shooters and then Chicago or whatever, now to me, I think this is still a completely false argument. It's an asymmetrical argument, and it's a systemic argument. But even if I would just take that argument on its face, I would then ask this to us as Americans: who gets paid off of both of those guns?
Yeah, exactly.
Someone gets paid handsomely from the Uvalde shooter and Ty the shooter in Chicago or in Pittsburgh, where I'm from.
That's why there's a gun lobby.
Someone gets paid off of both of those guns. That is the core. That is the core that we should be attacking, the power center. Someone is happy that both of those shootings happened.
That's why the gun lobby is huge, and there's no change in who profits off of guns in Mexico. Where do those guns come from?
America. Mexico has one gun store in the country. One. Did you hear what I said? Mexico has one gun store in the country.
That's crazy.
And they are awash of guns because we traffic in guns. We traffic in guns to that country. We sneak them in. The Iron Pipeline. And it's very similar to Chicago because Illinois has actually very tough gun laws.
So that's also like it's also a myth too. Like, Chicago's gun laws, like, they used to be a lot more stringent like 10 years ago. But like, the gun laws in Chicago are almost the same as they are here. You can't open carry. But it's pretty much the same.
Well, I was saying for Illinois, but because right next to it is Indiana.
So compared to Indiana, you could just go in and buy a gun.
So it's this porous. That's the point. It's like a sponge. It's a porous, faux barrier, right? So, but the thing is, we always go back to what is the message trying to be conveyed to us as people. This conveys a message to the white supremacist agenda, and I sound like one of these hotels, but I'm serious here. but what it means is that it allows them to say, look at Illinois. They have tougher gun laws, and these folks are still killing each other. So you need to go get a gun too, white boy. Yeah. This it allows them to continue. This is the point, and we're gonna get into the to what's going on with El Salvador. It's the exact same thing. Where you create something, you create chaos, then you blame that chaos that you created for more state-sanctioned violence, more vigilante violence, more capitalistic, rapacious violence against those who already don't have anything trying to survive. Because as we know, I mean, because I'm from Pittsburgh, inner city, you're from Chicago, we know stuff like that. But like, why do people commit crimes? Right. It's not because they're inherently violent, because they need to survive, right? And if I don't have, if I'm not having my community having the schooling, having that been invested in, or having access to clean water, potable water, having walkable sidewalks, having access to food, having access to healthcare, you will resort to, and then you can't get a job because you didn't have any education because they didn't invest in your schools. So in this capitalist society, it costs money to eat, put clothes on your back, and to have a roof over your head. So you have to get it how you live.
Yeah,
that usually comes with other things.
Another thing is everyone wants a quick fix, right? So, the people think that they're going to elect a mayor and that these things are going to fix overnight. And even these people get elected, they look for quick fixes. The reality is, in a lot of these situations, these are long-term fixes, right? This is systemic. These things are and if you want to talk about actually getting to the root and not surface level, surface level is, hey, I added 200 more police officers and they're going to be patrolling. Getting to the root is creating economic development. We have a plan over 10 years to increase the number of businesses, bring in business, and these things take time. And everyone wants to politicize it. And like, you can't even have a genuine conversation. People will take what I just said out of context and say, well, Rob said black on black crime and da 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 da. And you give an inch and they'll take a mile. And that's the problem where we're at today is we can't have legitimate debates. And I mean that in the most authentic way. It's just a political football, and so that's kind of anyways,
people want to be right. My grandma used to warn me, Peyron, be wary of those who would rather be right than alive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's this whole debate. But to go back to HB5 real quick, Moms Demand Action, the gun violence awareness group, they've identified a soft spot that we could potentially apply pressure as citizens, and that is within our sheriff's departments locally. I was informed by this by one of our local activists here. She called me today, and she says, she called Sheriff Caffey here in Union County about this. She didn't get a chance to talk to him, but again, that she's one more person calling and saying, I'm concerned about this. And on top of that, Sheriff, you should be concerned because if there's just this sea of guns, you could be killed. And if anything, white folks want to stay alive, ostensibly. But hopefully that he has, a dog in that fight where he doesn't want his officers being killed or harmed. And hopefully they would like to cut down on the potential public harm.
I will never understand why cops would want more guns in the hands of people who may or may not know how to properly handle guns, and or may be criminals and or can turn into criminals, because it only takes one time to turn into a criminal.
It only takes one time to die.
And it only takes one time to die. So but to your point earlier, is like overseers, like they want the people to, and hey, anyways, let's move on.
That's on. Moving on. All right. So, yes, I do want to touch on this next topic because Doge has been going banana sandwich. Trump has been feeling like he has this mandate, but he's damn near mayor coin flip. He's president coin flip at this point because he didn't get 50% of the vote. He did win the popular vote.
Well, he thinks he has a mandate. He thinks he has a mandate too.
He did not get 50% of the vote. The majority of people that came out to vote did not vote for Donald Trump. That is the truth. Now, he did win the popular vote, but the majority of people that voted did not come out for Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He did not get 50% of the people that came out and vote. He's got the majority of the votes of that. But anyway, Doge has been, as we know, taking a chainsaw. We saw a ketamine-addled Elon Musk on stage where he says, I become meme, to all these government agencies. But the most recent one, and I don't know if you guys remember this, during the election, he said he wasn't going to touch Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. But Ron, over the past couple of weeks, seemed like what's on the chopping block?
Social Security,
Medicaid, Medicare. So go to the Judd Legum.
You want to get click?
The guy Judd Legum. He's a great Substack. But this article is titled "A Memo Details Trump's Plan to Sabotage the Social Security Administration." And I'll just show you guys the link here. Or Ron will show you guys the link here. But
I don't know if I have that one.
It was in the email. Okay, but okay, all good, folks. We're trying to get more clean here. We're trying to get it smoother so we can do more.
Okay, here we go. Give me
dynamic
1 second.
show. And if Ron needs to take a second, I can fill airtime by just talking like this, where it seems like I'm saying things, but in reality, I'm not. Here we go. So Judd Legum's article, memo details Trump's plan to sabotage the Social Security Administration. Now, we're not going to go through all this, but we're just showing you because Judd Legum is a very smart guy. It's called Popular Information. He actually studied under John Podesta when he was in law schools. I mean, very smart guy, but now he does Substack. But what they want to do, folks, just to kind of just give you guys a rundown here, they want to require something called internet identity proofing to get your claims handled. And to get your Social Security. Rom, let me ask you something. usually get Social Security?
Senior citizens, elderly.
Grandparents, right? Old folks, right? And the thing is, and if they can't do the online, internet identity proofing, they would be required to visit a field office to provide an in-person identity documentation. Now, older folks aren't the best. I don't know if you've ever had an old folk with a cell phone, old person with a cell phone. They're like, how did I get this? Can you show me how to get this? Can you get this Candy Crush off my phone?
Yeah.
Now, they want them to do this internet identity proofing. And if they can't, they need to go into a brick and mortar building and then prove their identity through documentation. And what really pisses me off is because again, the majority of people that get Social Security are our elders, right? And as of right now, 40% of claims are handled over the phone because that's older folks they could just they could talk to someone on the phone or they can do it on their phone a little bit. But uploading documents and scanning things and DocuSign, that's too much for them, right? The older you get, you slow down a little bit.
Mhm.
We're all not you, Rom. We're all not plugged into the matrix, brother. We all not just connected and sentient like you, right? But and experts who study this say that 75 to 85,000 people would be required to visit offices per week. By the way, folks, they are shutting down offices by ceasing to pay the leases of the Social Security offices. This is how you weaken the Social Security Administration. This is how you weaken Social Security. People will die, and we're supposed to act like this is again from the folks that tell you that they care about people. This is how it happens.
Yeah,
This is how it happens.
there's a human cost to everything that's happening right now. All these things that happen, there's a human cost, and because it's not
That's right.
like everyone's not going to die at the same time on one day,
Right.
And it's not in some like terror attack, people don't notice. Like it'll be a statistic, and it'll be something that'll
That's
take
right.
years, a couple years to come to the
Right.
surface, right? But yeah, that's exactly what they're doing is chipping it away until there's nothing left to chip away on.
There's no building, right? These folks that live in rural areas, your Social
It's
Security
going to be
office, you might have to
broken.
travel. You might have to travel. If you're in Charlotte, travel to Fayetteville, right?
And
3 hours, and as the older you are, you're less mobile, right? You don't drive. Your kids, they're grown, they're dealing with their kids, but you got to go to the Social Security office.
yeah, and if they, if there's scenarios where they were looking to replace Social Security with something better, but we're talking about literally taking the money that people have put into it their entire lives and potentially just cutting them off from it and losing it. And you and me, we've been putting in Social Security for our lives.
And the biggest lie, the biggest lie about Social Security is that it's going to become insolvent. And the thing is, the only thing in the government that is already paid for, the only thing that pays for itself, is Social Security. So if Elon Musk and all of them shut everything down, the courts
it
and
doesn't touch that
the
money.
IRS, the only thing that would still be funded is Social Security.
Yeah, I think
People, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That's but people don't realize that. In fact, could you put that clip that still up I sent you of what Social Security? Now, these are some comprehensive things that Social Security does. I didn't even realize these things, right? About 67 million people, or about 1 in 5 U.S. residents, collected Social Security benefits in February of 2024. 1 in 5 beneficiaries received Social Security disability insurance or were young survivors of deceased workers. About 90% of people aged 21 to 64 who worked in covered employment in 2023 were insured through Social Security in case of a severe disability. 97% of older adults 60 to 89 either receive Social Security or will receive it. Over 5.7 million children under the age of 18 lived in families who received income from Social Security in 2022. Social Security lifted 1.4 million children above the poverty line in 2022. I'm gonna read that again. Social Security lifted 1.4 million children above the poverty line in 2022 because there's a lot of mixed generation families, and again that's some extra income. And sadly, there shouldn't be children in poverty because children don't have jobs. But last two here, without Social Security benefits, nearly 4 in 10 adults aged 65 or older would have incomes below the official poverty line. Women represent more than half of Social Security beneficiaries in their 60s and 7 in 10 beneficiaries in their 90s. In addition, women make up 95% of Social Security survivor beneficiaries. I wasn't even aware of some of this stuff. I saw this on, as you guys see the tag there on Zeteo earlier, and I said, man, I got to share this on our show because
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks think it's something else. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is one thing that somebody told Elon you can't just, I mean, I think if it, I think
Well, you said earlier,
he was
like,
ready to
this
cut
ain't
that.
Trump.
Yeah, it's not Trump. He's not the one it's somebody because they had this thing earlier this week, last week, and they basically said that Elon is on the paper. They gave the papers of who's in charge, and it's not Elon. He's not in
Yeah.
Doge at all.
Yeah.
But
In fact, they gave the name of the woman, and she was on vacation in Mexico, and they were like, "We heard that the reporter was like, we heard that you're running Doge," and she was like, "Oh, I didn't know that was out, or I didn't know that was going to be
yeah,
released
at
yet, or
first,
something."
yeah. She's like,
This is like this is what it is. But again, to go back, they're going for the most vulnerable.
mhm.
Those white folks that believed they were going to take out those immigrants, take out those thugs and those black folks and those welfare queens. They were coming after y'all this whole time.
With all of these cuts, have we once heard we're cutting benefits to corporations?
No,
Have we heard anything that we're cutting things that affect the rich
no.
at
If
all?
anything, we're
At
give them
all?
tax cuts.
At
And what
all?
irritates me, like my grandmother was on Social Security, and she died in 2021. And for many Americans, this is their only source of income, and that's why
Hmm.
it irritates me. And it's like, and if all that goes away, what's going to happen to them?
And for
What's
even
going to happen to these people?
a week, 2 weeks late, a month, they cut it off. You got to go through, and you got to go through all this shit to get it back, and then you call, and then you can't get through, and it's backlogged more and more. Like,
But this also goes to another ideology within the conservative slash regressive movement. This idea of culling, right? Getting rid of the weak, or some folks may call it soft eugenics. Remember during COVID, these Republicans would get in front of a camera and say, "Well, grandma's got to go, grandma's got to die." The pro-life party. That's what they were saying during COVID. This is the exact same thing. Oh, well, grandma's got, we got to go give all this money to Elon Musk to go blow up rockets and have self-driving cars run over children. If not, instead of giving it to your grandmother, so she doesn't have to go eat cat food. That's what this is about from the pro-life people. But we got to make sure
I don't know how you
elongate a muskrat.
I don't know how you can sit on the sideline, clap along like a circus seal, and when like none of this is benefiting
Pisses me off.
anyone, and be just because you want to spite other people, see other people suffer. I like it just, and it's like, but you
Yes,
have no
yes.
problem with the rich. Like, how warped do your mind have to be to like to literally cheer this on and just disregard billionaires,
Yeah,
disregard corporations who paid no taxes, and how
none.
do these people get rich? They get rich off the
From
back of
handouts.
Americans. Well,
From
that
handouts.
too, and then the
The
backs of American people.
the biggest welfare queens. I mean, yeah, I mean, Elon Musk got 236 billion dollars under Barack Obama for Tesla from his subsidies. 236 billion dollars. Now, it wasn't directly to him, but it was to his corporations. It was spread out and subsidizes. But yeah, you're the biggest welfare queen of them all. But he's saying that we're the parasite class, or even poorer people than us, are of the parasite class. And also, what I think with this attack on Social Security is, it is also the part of the GOP's plan, the GQ, as I call them, the GQP's plan, to make Americans work until you die. Retirement? What is that? Why do you need to retire? You should be bagging groceries until you're 85 years old. We're going to keep upping the retirement age. We want you to keep working until you fall dead on the floor of that grocery store. So we need child labor, and we need retirement to not exist anymore. That all serves the wealth class. And the thing is, you said earlier, it's like, well, how to get people to do this? Because again, if you can convince people that have their whole identity is wrapped up in myth and lies, which whiteness is, because whiteness is not real. Whiteness does not exist. It is a social construct, that it is basically a team fevered idea. And if you can convince those people that they are the most precious, they're the most innocent, they're the most deserving, and those other people are the ones taking and stealing and robbing and raping, they will give you everything. They will give you everything. And I forgot who said it, but they said I think it was maybe D.L. Hughley. He said that the problem with white people is that like the reason they can't enjoy ice cream is because they're too busy. The ice cream cone in their hand. The reason the white people can't enjoy the ice cream cone in their hand is because they're too busy trying to knock over someone else's ice cream cone. And like that's what this is all. You know, it's the same sort of a mentality. They can't be content with themselves. So it's easy to propagandize those people. It's easy to tell them that you're the biggest victim, but you're also what I say. But you're also the hero. You're both. It's all about you.
Yeah, it's
And
just
that's why we are where we are.
it's very hard to have that perspective. It's very hard to like put myself in those. I can't. This is why like you say we can't talk to these people because I can't relate. I literally cannot understand. Nope. I mean, like I understand on the surface, but like to actually like live and breathe that and believe it and like be spoon fed this stuff, like I cannot wrap my head around it enough to actually have a genuine conversation. I will legitimately just call you a fucking idiot, and like I don't have the
remember
patience.
you can't win elections calling people stupid.
I don't have the patience for that type of ignorance. That's the type of ignorance that is not the people I can get through to. I've run into ignorance from white folks who are legitimately like ignorant in the most authentic sense of like they don't know certain things, but I've also run into like people who are intentionally ignorant, malicious, and vicious,
right?
And that's something that I can't relate to at all, and don't want to. I can't talk to those people. I have no intention to, and I know you don't. But
no, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I do not have time for is that shit.
But the folks that have unlearned that, there are white folks that have unlearned that behavior, and I know there was not enough podcast, but not enough. But there is a podcast of people who do that, and I'm like, you're doing your Lord's work because that's what you should be doing. Somebody's got to do it. If anyone can do it, it's you people. And there's another influencer. He's a young white man, blonde hair. He used to be in a white supremacist organization, and he's out.
Oh, Danny Collins?
Probably, yes. And I think Danny Collins.
He's from Florida?
I don't know. Okay. I don't know him that well, but I see him sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, he spits facts now. And it's like,
yeah, I think that's him.
But yeah. So what else we got?
Moving on. So as we talked about you locally, we're gonna go nationally to show what the impact is like. We got a couple more stories here. What the impact has been like for folks who are also raising their voices in their town halls. So we're gonna play, and it's bipartisan, rightfully so. Now I think one side wants it to burn, and one side is being complicit. But let's see what the people are talking about. Just as Rom did, just as Kara did, just as Steve did yesterday, but across the country. So let's play. I'm not sure we're going to play first, but it doesn't really matter. This is.
Mind telling your colleagues in Washington that when they're burning down this house, there's people still inside. My kid is inside.
Democratic Senators Ruben Gallego and Mark Kelly held a town hall in Scottsdale, Arizona, to highlight how the Republican budget being advanced in Congress could slash Medicaid. But many in the audience were not satisfied with the senators' answers.
I feel like we need leaders here, and
we can do better, and we should do better. We owe it to every Arizonan. We owe it to the veterans. I think, this is, our attempt really to kind of start the movement.
I want to know, I think as a parent at any time when you feel that you can't protect the kid, you want a game plan. Like, what is the plan?
they've shown us over and over and over again, they don't care. They don't care if people die. They don't care if people suffer. We want you to be straight with us. How do we go to the next level to fight this if that's the case?
Get out in public and have your voice heard by making phone calls and sending emails. They really matter. When the phone system shuts down in the U.S. Senate office buildings because so many people in the country are pissed off, everybody knows that.
I just want to know what the Democrats' strategy is going forward.
Do you feel like they're...
You want to finish that word? Because I'm like, me too.
Yeah,
I want to know what the strategy is.
And the fact, right? She asked me, said, "Do you feel like the Democrats have a strategy?" And he's like, "No." And again, I think we're trying to happy talk ourselves past this. I think right now it's happening even locally when folks are like, "Oh, the Democratic Party, what are you doing?" It's like we don't have a strategy, and reacting to something is not a strategy. That is reacting. And I just want folks to know you're not alone.
Yeah,
You're not alone.
Yeah, and just real quick on the Democratic strategy, there isn't one, and I was just saying before we hopped on is like the Democrats haven't had an offensive message in months. They are extremely on the defense and letting the Republicans craft, the narrative, and we're going to talk about that in this Venezuelan situation, but
yeah.
And even Chuck Schumer was flat-footed. He acted like that this budget wasn't coming up.
He
didn't know.
Win.
Like he didn't know that moment was going to happen. So regardless of where the Democrats were going to go with that, he did not communicate it. It was ineffective communication internally and with the people. And it was he changed his mind overnight and just left his team hanging. And so if you think that's leadership, no, you didn't even get buy-in.
I'm the best leader of the Senate.
You didn't even get buy-in from your own party. You didn't even get buy-in from the
10 Democrats,
the House Minority Leader, right? So, and he's soft. I mean, shit. If you can't get in line with Hakeem Jeffries, then who?
2 pillows.
So
he will win.
Yeah, the strategy, and then I don't know. I mean, the Democrats are flopping around like fish out of water, and ultimately, it's going to lead to I think some sort of revolution, even of some sort within the party or outside of the party.
It's coming either way.
And we see these polls as like 27% support Democrats, or think they're doing a good job, and great. I'm glad that poll's out, but a lot of pundits and people want to take it and run with it, thinking like, that means that Trump's more popular, and
it's like no.
Get the. If Chuck Schumer was up against
Democrats,
if Chuck Schumer could run for president, I'd vote for him if it was against Trump.
But no fucking question.
But so don't get the wrong idea.
Right. Don't get
this.
This
is kind of the wake up call that a lot of people wanted or think that was needed. And for me, this was a wake up call of like, because I was floating in like I always talk about this of like, we're in the middle and we're gonna win, and like, no, it's not. I don't think that's gonna work.
The Baileys, Chuck Schumer says this shit where he's like, the Baileys like that I signed. He has this imaginary group of people called the Baileys in his mind. So if you ever hear him give speeches, he's like, and the Baileys like that we don't have expanded health care. The Baileys like that we stopped the child tax credit. The Baileys like that. And it's like, well, who the fuck are these Baileys? Do you know any Baileys?
And Jewish Democratic voters are a big part of the Democratic Party, and a lot of them are anti what Israel and genocide.
So it's not young Jewish people.
It's really what it comes down to is the AIPACs and the people that are funding them more so than the actual people. And if you want to conflate being pro free Palestine or anti-genocide with
anti-Semitism,
that's bullshit. You can't tell.
People are waking up from that shit though. People are like, what? So wait, hold on. I have to like seeing dead babies? And if I don't like seeing dead babies, I'm all of a sudden Hitler?
Right.
What kind of fucking shit is this? And it's like, and people are like, again, when I try to tell people, I went to a protest and I had a sign, and I said that like, I listen to folks like James Baldwin, Malcolm X, Angela Davis, Nelson Mandela. Should I listen to those people, or should I listen to Michael Rappaport and Chuck Schumer? Who should I listen to? But we got another clip of another town hall. I want to just cut back. This is another good one, though. I think that the one you just showed up, I think that's another Democrat one. Oh, that's Republican. Yeah, sure, this one.
We want you to show fight, and you are not fighting.
At this town hall in Forestville, Maryland, Congressman Glenn Ivey got a healthy dose of the idea that even a friendly crowd can turn on you. And on a couple of occasions in this town hall, the crowd did turn on him.
The message that was sent by Democrats in Congress with the CR catastrophe was clear. It's not that you're in the minority. It's that you aren't even working together on a shared strategy. And that is failure. We are not interested in hearing that you are in the minority. We know that. We want you to show some of the backbone and strategic brilliance that Mitch McConnell would have in the minority.
Thank you for being polite with us, but when it comes to fighting these fights, we need you to be a little bit less polite, a little bit more hell no instead of a little bit no.
Okay, bars.
Fair enough.
And there may be a time when you and other congresspeople need to do civil disobedience. You need to be arrested.
Sure.
And I will go with you. I will stand next to you and be arrested.
Hey. Hey.
I mean,
That's what
real,
I'm saying. Like,
go down fighting. Go down fighting. All
I
this,
haven't
like,
seen that video. That's the first time I've seen these.
Yeah, man. That's why I sent it to you, brother.
I was like, hey.
Ron don't be looking
that's
at.
the type of-
He don't be looking at my DMs, folks. So I sent it to him, and he'd be like, "What? When did you send me? When did you send it to me?" Yeah, right.
That's the type of energy that I think a lot of us were
Yes.
hoping, and coming from, I think, again, white folks, and not just because it's more because of the I don't know the word I'm looking for, but when you see that, when white folks see other white folks and it's coming from them, it holds weight in their thing, and so like
it resonates.
It resonates, right? And it's great. I think all of us at some point, and I was just like I was at a city council meeting last night, and so it's not like we're just
But
80%
the reason
92% is just thrown in the towel, but like,
right. But the reason we need white people to do this right now,
they're privileged,
because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, the fight was supposed to be on November 5th, right? That was supposed to be all these billions of dollars, this money, the imagery of the Uvalde shooting, and the imagery of this, and the people are going to lose their health care. All of this was supposed to be this, and we rallied. The black people rallied together, like, you know what? Yeah. So now it's like, what more do you want from us?
Yeah. And
y'all got to do some shit.
Yeah, and to be clear, like most of the people that watch our show are involved. Like they're actually the politically involved white folks. So like these are the ones that are like doing something. But there's a slew of people who aren't, and they're like, well, and I will say, like, so maybe some of the people, and I don't know everyone at the Democratic Party meeting, but some
why
of the
not?
people
Come on, dude.
That were
You don't know everybody
speaking.
yet?
That were speaking,
They all know you.
They were like, I don't want to talk to my family. I don't want to about this.
That's
and I
that
don't want
shit.
to ruffle feathers. I think
That's
that
that
they
shit.
if they had like that fight and not like a fight of yelling and whatever, but actually
Right.
figuring out how
Creating
to like,
pressure.
sit down and like I figured that out. I mean, that's your family. How do you figure it out? I think that fight would have been a lot easier than what's ahead of us now. And I mean, one of the reasons
Correct.
why I was out there was because I didn't want to fight the rest of my life. Literally, that was what
Look,
I was
man,
saying. I thought I was
as
gonna
black
play
folks, as black folks, we know I ain't got to get shot to know the lead is hot. You know what I mean? That's the thing about surviving and having a survival mindset in the community. I don't got to get shot to know the lead is hot. But some of these motherfuckers now they gotta get shot to know the lead is hot. We're gonna be like, we told you. What's happening now? FIFO, right? It's like that's the point. So at the end of the day, we can't do no more.
Yeah, I was.
We done fought the fights. We done got the rights. We done marched. We done got beat. We got burned. We got lynched. We got hosed. And the most y'all can't talk to your own uncle.
Speaking of FIFO, I was a quick story when I was canvassing. I was canvassing with a volunteer named CJ, a black woman, and we ended up in like one of the probably like a pretty rich area of Charlotte, big house, and she was like, "Okay, like, don't look suspicious in the car. Don't look suspicious. Don't like." She was like, "Okay."
Don't look suspicious.
I was like,
Don't
"Yeah,
look
yeah."
suspicious.
And understandable, like she was like, all right, like this is the reality of like what black folks and like brown folks we had to think about of like, but anyways, so we're going around the neighborhood.
When your skin is a weapon, you're always armed. Remember I said that?
Yeah, and there was definitely there was looks. There was people who in this neighborhood who got a little testy just because we were there, knocking.
Just because you're there.
And we went to one house at FAFO on the outside, and it had a camera and it had like this weird gate. I was like, as soon as I saw that I was like, nope, we're not going to this.
It said FAFO.
Yeah, on a like a rock, like outside the house, and I could tell.
I could tell by the. I could around and found.
Yeah, I could tell by the way that the house looked for it. I was like, we're not going here. I told her what. She's like, what's FAFO? I was like, fuck around, find out.
Exactly.
I was like, skip. Like that was probably like one of the only houses.
I ain't gotta get shot.
I got the
message. Let us hide.
And then the next house we went to, who are you with? I hate
Democrats.
Like one of those. And I had only a few of those, but like, yeah, that was, and I, you know what? So, and this was more on like when we got to like the less affluent side of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just thought.
But that's where we're at, man. All right, we got one more clip here of this is a Republican now, and I love what listen to the crowd, folks, of how they responded. And he's going to do the old Republican 1-2 step. Let's see how the crowd responds. Well, not this one. There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's the deal. Here's the deal. That $36 trillion number is not going away. It is not going away unless we deal with Medicare and Medicaid. Let's remain calm. Let's remain calm. Let's remain calm. Ultimately, where we need to go is to a balanced budget. A balanced budget where we... How can you be against a balanced budget?
It's not working anymore.
How can you be against a balanced budget? All right.
Tax the rich.
All right.
Okay. That's what they're saying. That sounds like a good solution. Oh.
Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. So your proposal to solve this is to tax the rich.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, yeah, motherfucker.
If we can cut every social program to every the bottom 99%, why can't we tax the 1%?
Why can't we do that to them?
Who's on their yacht, who will not be affected? Elon Musk could lose $100 billion, and he's still in great shape. He has not a single thing to worry about for the rest of his life.
He will never have to worry about a red cent.
Kid does not have
all 50,000 of them.
So why are we talking about this? Corporations are record profits. The S&P 500 record numbers at the end of Biden's campaign.
From 2020 to now, like, the top 50 richest people gained $6 trillion in wealth in 5 years.
And there's rich people who are like, tax me. What are you talking about? Like, I wouldn't be here if, like, granted they're not out there vocally, like, but like, what do you need this abundance of money for? And at this point, I'm like, actually like, there needs to be a cap. Take your money. If no one's going to tax it,
yes,
eat the rich. Like, I don't
billionaires.
know,
I'm going to say it again. Billionaires shouldn't exist. And if there's a reason y'all need to, there's no billionaires should not exist. I don't care. Guess what? You have no chance of being a billionaire, Rom. I have no chance of being a billionaire, and that's okay. Because look at these motherfuckers. Look at these look at Jeff Bezos. Look at Elon Musk. Look at Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Look at them as human beings. Is that somebody you want to be? You want your kid to be like, your daughters to be like that? To marry men like these? Or to hang with men like, no, these are losers.
How do we get more McKinseys? And see, the thing is the Sabine McKenzie, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, who's a philanthropist and gives her money.
She's a woman.
All kinds of.
She's a woman.
And also, she was she wasn't. So you have to be in order to be a CEO. There for a lot of CEOs, there's a certain narcissist mentality that tends to work.
It's detached.
It's detached from emotion, right? Empathy
and common people.
In order to actually become a billionaire, in a lot of cases, you have to abandon those emotions because you're doing some stuff that is exploiting somebody else.
No question. You're also hoarding wealth.
Like,
yeah. So, you're hoarding wealth while people are literally starving and dying and cannot get the basic. I mean, there's people who are living in this country, Rom, living off of $20,000 a year. And Elon Musk is worth, I mean, he lost $116 billion, but he's still worth more money than any of us could ever think of.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that we can't scrape some off the top? I mean, and if you look at how the progressive tax rate, not even a flat tax rate, because a flat tax rate would be horrible, but a progressive tax rate, where if you're making over this amount, you get taxed at this rate, and the higher it goes up, you tax at higher rates. So if you get any dollar over 50 million, you get taxed at 90%. And folks are like, well, what about all my money? Again, but you didn't make all that money. Your workers made all that money. You didn't make all that money by yourself, or you got subsidies from the government, from our tax dollars that gave you that money.
Right.
So why do you feel more entitled to have our money or have my labor than for me to have it?
Mm-hmm. And when businesses go into these cities, the cities give them all kinds of tax breaks and all kinds of stuff to bring them in the hope of bringing jobs. And then, now they're getting rid of these folks and replacing them with AI, moving jobs overseas. So the Bloombergs, the Oprahs, the Cubans, the Mark Cubans, the Bill Gates, it's probably as good as it's going to get. I don't know their whole entire history, but for the most part, as far as billionaires goes, that's probably the best you're gonna get.
That's the closest you're gonna get, and that's not that fucking great.
Yeah, and so it is something that the tax the rich is literally the only solution, because
that's it.
In no other country would these people or their corporations be able to thrive as they have in the United States. So it is your responsibility to pay your dues, and if you feel like that you don't owe that, then that's why we're in this situation.
But this is why they had to convince you. This is why they had to convince the Republicans that it's about the transgenders, it's about woke, it's about DEI. Again, it's the only minorities that are destroying this country are billionaires.
And that's
the only. And if we all got together, the only minorities we need to be against are billionaires.
And that's why people like Bernie Sanders is getting momentum, because this has been his message
for years.
And folks who are saying it, like AOC's somewhat birthed from the Bernie Sanders movement. But
where was he birthed from? Bernie Sanders was part of the Rainbow Coalition and that movement. That's where he came out of.
Civil rights, civil rights movement.
In 84, 88. But that's where he got his political legs, right? Was then. Because during that time, there was pain. Just like we're about to experience pain as a country now. And the Democratic Party at the time had a choice. Could we go the Rainbow Coalition route with Jesse Jackson and the folks like Bernie Sanders, who was young back then? Or do we need to go this austerity route and go the Bill Clinton route? Triangulation. Deregulation, because that's what won in previous elections. That's what Reagan won twice, and George H.W. Bush won on no new taxes. Then he raised taxes. So did Reagan. But there's people right now that would tell you Ronald Reagan never raised taxes. That's a fucking lie. He absolutely, because America was about to crater. But that is what they're selling you on that, because they are in the pockets of the billionaires. This is neoliberalism.
So what's gonna, what remains to be seen is what actually awakens the conscience of these folks, because there's got to be some. Not every folk who voted Republican and Trump is this MAGA white supremacist.
So I hear this, but I'm gonna push back on this because I hear this shift from people too. They're like, people didn't vote for this, and there's always people on our side telling us. It's people on the who voted Democrat or for the Democratic Party. They're trying to tell other Democrats that people did not vote for this. Now, this is where I'm a little iffy here, because someone's fucking lying. Someone's fucking lying, because of every terrible thing that happens in Congress, these Republicans get in front of a microphone. What do they say? The American people voted for this. They wanted us to cut this stuff. Trump has a mandate. And then the people will say, no, we did it. But then they get excited when there are mass deportations. Or they get excited when, they do roll back DEI. But then my Social Security, my farms. No, you can't pick and choose which one, motherfucker. If we going down, the whole ship's going down. So I'm a little bit leery when I hear people say, well, they didn't vote for this. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. When you lay down with a dog with fleas, you get up with fleas. So the idea that we got to compartmentalize, stop doing work for these people. They didn't vote for this. Yes, they did.
I think to your point, it's maybe overstated, but and again, I will talk a little bit about these people that go back and forth every election. These 5 to 10% I talk about sometimes, and I don't know what
these mythical people,
but
right?
Well, there are people that go back.
There are people. Yeah, but this
is it? But do I think it's enough to run to the center? No, I don't. Not at this point. I think maybe I used to.
Never was.
And I think I like I said, I used to. I don't think so anymore. And I think that again. So real quick, touch on Trump. The way the Trump one is he got new voters involved. The people who were not involved, he tapped into that. That was his strategy. So
about this election,
2016. And he got more. He actually got more votes this election, I believe. Then
Trump won this election because people did not show up who voted in 2020.
Yes, 2020.
So yes,
but
he did increase from 2020, but it's marginal because the Democratic Party increased.
But my point is, with 2016, he brought in new folks who
and disaffected people.
Democrats want to chase those folks and these people.
Correct.
Whereas Democrats can do the same strategy that he did and bring in new voters. If he did it, if you want to follow his strategy, follow that. Don't try to pull in the people that he actually motivated.
Right, follow the strategy. Correct.
That's like make me feel good about being a mediocre person. Don't. That's what Trump has done. He's empowered the most mediocre white man, and to feel
they're coming for you. You got to take it back.
It's like, yeah, take it back. All this anti-DEI. It's like, all right, this is why. So it is. Anyways,
so all right, but moving on for time's purposes. So
okay, this one
we were hit over the weekend, right? Is it like late last week, or over the weekend, if I'm not mistaken, of this propaganda video. It was posted from Nayib Bukele, they call him the Trump of El Salvador.
Here's the series of events. Go ahead. It's the last Thursday. Hey, it looked like there was going to be no approval of the resolution.
That's right.
On Friday, Schumer cave, 7 o'clock ish. It was gone through. Midnight Friday night, Trump basically started saying like they were deported, and I said like he's gonna go on like doing the most like crazy shit.
You did text me that.
You just co-signed them, and by I think Saturday morning, we woke up to a propaganda video.
Yeah.
Let's play this clip. So if I was maybe the average American, and I see this video and you tell me, and first off, yeah, okay, let's say you tell me we're getting rid of the most violent drug dealer criminals in America.
So white boys.
But if you said that, it's going to be probably, if you told me we're getting rid of hey, we're getting rid of the most violent
those crimes and can sell the most drugs and
whatever. A lot of people are like, then yeah, like, okay, what do I care, right? Well,
right.
But the reality, and this is something the Trump administration and these Project 2025 folks are turning out to be masterful at, is creating the narrative, creating the visuals, right? So there was a producer who said like this video, and this was posted by the White House as well.
Yes.
This video is a actual like full-fledged productions, probably actors, everything, the full crew, everything.
Why are all these officers
dollars
their
just to
faces
produce.
covered?
So yeah, exactly. So anyways,
What the fuck is that?
So there's that. And but there's layers to this, right? Because
Many.
one of the there was a ruling in which the judge said that you cannot I don't know the exact.
You got to turn those planes around. Did you cannot deport those people?
You cannot just deport without due process.
Yep. Yeah.
And so I think actually what they said was they didn't say that they had planes in the sky, so they just landed it, and they did it.
They knew the time that the judge said you knew the time that I was going to be in court, and you put the planes in the air right on the edge. So by the time I gave my verbal ruling, it was over international waters. So therefore, there's no jurisdiction over that plane. And then this is when Nayib Bukele said, "Whoopsie," and that was retweeted by Marco Rubio.
El Salvador is a dictatorship or authoritarian, and so
one and the same.
Yeah, and so yeah, the idea is cruelty. But I don't know if people know this, but like when they shipped 150 so people out to Guantanamo Bay about a month and a half ago. You know they had to bring them all back. They're all back. They shut it down. It's already like it was already failed. So you mean
they said it was right. They said, you know what, this ain't we can't even take care of these people here. Even Guantanamo Bay was a bridge too far. But you know, to your point about the layers of that video, as a student of history and someone who understands fascism and colonialism, as they say, fascism is just colonialism turned inward on the country. That's all fascism is. It's what you do to people out there, you start to do to the people here. I think that's this a few episodes ago. The imperial boomerang is another shorthand for this. Or they say fascism is colonialism done to white people, if you will. But if you look at the visuals of that video, one, masked faces. Have you ever seen the movie or the show Watchmen?
Yeah, that was good.
So the whole point of the yellow police having the yellow masks, because that was a fascist police state, that there was no accountability. You will not know who these people are. You will be picked up and be disappeared and taken by these faceless masked people and be disappeared, right? Secondly, in all ethnic cleansing colonial projects where you are subjugating the other, once you get them and you got them in chains, you got them where you want them, one of the first thing they always do is shave the head. Our ancestors, when they were on boats coming across the Middle Passage and they landed on the shores of whether it be the Caribbean or whether it be here in this settler colonial project known as the United States of America, the first thing they did was shave our heads, because in Africa, the way you could tell different nations that you were a part of or different tribes you were part of was by your hairstyles, the different braiding and how it was up, and they shaved it all off. So you're losing your identity. What happened in the Holocaust when they were going into Dachau and going into Auschwitz, they were shaving your head. It's a dehumanizing tactic.
Well,
that you can't stand up on your own. That also is another example that you cannot be a full, because as a man, you want to stand up on your own too, right? No, you got to be doubled over. You have to be crouched down. All these things are the same thing they did to our ancestors or other people who were oppressed. It's what they've done to folks in concentration camps across the world. So it's what they're doing in Gaza, right? This is what they do to people. So if you don't know that history, you just look at it as like, oh, well, I mean, that's what they deserve.
Yep.
No.
And it's propaganda. It's power. I mean, this is exactly the type of propaganda that we would expect. And but the other layer, again, peeling back the onion. So now we come to find out today that these people aren't even, half these people, I don't even know the number, but they're not criminals.
Right. We don't know.
It doesn't even matter how many it is. I mean, we don't know who any of them, but there's at least 3 people that I read about that were not criminals. They had tattoos, and they went there and they shaved their head and to give them the appearance of being this hardened criminal. And they made sure the tattoos were showing in the videos and the pictures. Can you imagine being a migrant and
one person was seeking asylum?
seeking asylum. Yeah, seeking asylum from a government. We don't know which government. Venezuelan government, presumably.
We don't even know
something. But and then living your life. I don't know, working, just being trying to be a citizen, trying to be a law-abiding citizen, trying to be a law-abiding asylum seeker.
Wrong
and then
place,
you
wrong
end
time.
up in one of the most hardened jails in the world.
A labor camp. It's a labor camp.
That's insane. That's absolutely insanity. And then you imagine them taking people off the streets. We talked about Mahmoud Khalil on Sunday, and the idea that we've seen these surgeons and these people who had visas and green card holders, and it's not indiscriminate. They don't care. They want to target any kind of immigrant that they don't,
and they just targeted I think a European someone from I think he's from like I forget where he's from, but I think they're trying to show like, hey, it's not just the brown ones.
And if folks don't think they start gripping up American citizens that they don't like and that they don't think are saying the right things, I think you're in for
a rude awakening,
right?
And I just
I don't
want
put it
folks
past
to realize
that you and me ends up in fucking Guantanamo.
Oh yeah,
if
but
at a pie.
No, you're right. Yeah, I'll see you in the gulag, brother. I'll see you in there. I'm breaking this down. But no, but it's this moment that we're living through, and these people. One of the people that was picked up, they said, "Oh, yes, gang affiliated tattoos." They're showing to your point. They're showing the tattoos. His wife or girlfriend was like, he got that at a tattoo parlor in Dallas because it was a rose because he thought it looked cool. He thought it looked cool, man.
Just a tattoo.
Thought it looked cool. And these people, these purity culture, white supremacists, and Marco Rubio's a part of that. Don't forget, he is a white passing Latino. So therefore, he is a part of folks, you don't have to be a white man to uphold white supremacy. Just gonna be very clear about that. I think folks really get confused.
We met a black man last night at the city council. They're
trying to check me. I was like, hey, brother, I'd have stuffed him in a locker. But yeah, man, like these are people that, in what they want, and this serves a political purpose. We talked earlier about Chicago. Chicago's purpose is to inform the white populace that you are always under threat. White identity is built around white identity is also American identity, is built around a persistent threat. First, it was the indigenous, then it was the enslaved, then it was if we free these Negroes, they're going to take all your jobs, they're going to rape all your women. Then after that, it was the Japanese internment. Then it was the war on drugs.
It was Irish and Italians at one point.
Excuse me, Irish and Italians, right? There was right. That's why we have Columbus Day. Actually, that's actually an homage or an apology to the Italian community because they went on a violent lynch mob in the Italian community in Louisiana. That's why we have Christopher Columbus Day. Then it was the war on drugs, then the war on terror. Now it's kind of morphed into this digital fear. Then now it's the war on woke, the war on DEI, the war on American culture, the war on whiteness.
Yeah, well, they have a lot of things to hide behind.
So now these images in these prisons, they serve a political purpose because if they can convince you that these people are bad, just like during 9/11, to have Gitmo, to have Guantanamo Bay, to say, well, we're sending terrorists there. They're all terrorists. If your mind, and they're showing you images of 9/11, they're showing you images of the Pentagon, they're showing you images of what happened in Pennsylvania over and over and over again, you're going to say, well, if those are the bad people, I'm okay with that. Then you get the Patriot Act. Then let me get them civil rights. Let me get those rights that we gave to protect you, those protections. Same thing is happening here. It is informing your subconscious that if you believe that those people are all bad people, you're going to be okay with sending more people down there. This is how propaganda works on us, folks. Yeah. This is how they manufacture consent. What did I say on one of our first episodes back when we still had Andrew? I said, as a quote from Noam Chomsky, it's going to our final point here, but ironically, but he said, Israel is the most propagandized and indoctrinated country in the world. Then there was a pregnant pause. Then he said, second to the United States of America. He said, because if we knew what our country was doing around the world, we would be up in arms every single day. So this is the power of propaganda, the power of narrative. And what do we say the Republicans are good at? Spectacle and narrative. So folks who are on the other side of that, we have to be just as good. Spectacle and narrative. Taxes, tariffs, and terminations, right? That's just ideas. But this whole idea we're doing our best, like Ruben Gallego and Senator Kelly. We're doing our best. Are you? Call your senators. You're the fucking senators.
I don't know why messaging and communication is hard. There's entire agencies that do this, and I understand the inclination to have this like college thesis reply or like educated reply, because like
right.
I get dragged into, I want to talk about the actual root, and to a lot of people, like they're just focused on like the surface. There's the video. They're going straight to it doesn't. I don't really care about due process. I don't really care about the Constitution.
Right. Are you trying to defend drug dealers and murderers?
Exactly. That's the narrative they've been able to create, when we know that the threat that this poses is much greater than even though this is absurd. We know that what's next. We know who they're coming after.
They don't stop.
So and we know that the rule of law, the judicial branch, is hanging in it by a literal thread. And the other thing is John Roberts came out because they didn't like this, and they said, well, let's impeach the judge that came out with this ruling, because they came back on, I think, Monday, and they said he said, well, give me an update, and they didn't like that, and so they said, we're going to impeach you. We're going to get you impeached.
And John Roberts said, for 200 years or for 2 centuries, we've known that impeachment is not a response to rulings that you do not like.
It's an appeal.
But I will say this, is it right? It's just to appeal. But I will say this, I do believe what he was doing, and what the right wing Supreme Court justice do, what they're saying is like, hey man, fuck, come on, Trump. Put that shit through like a car wash, like get some lawyers look at it.
I don't know. We'll see how. Make it
we'll give it the
make
thumbs
it
up.
look a little more.
Make it look, fucking try, bro. Like you just saying like Trump says go, and they're like, motherfucker, don't do that shit.
Well, I will
like,
see Roberts and Comey. Roberts was Bush appointed, Comey was Trump appointed.
15 minutes for the election.
He thinks that she's in his pocket. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, the courts are crazy. Like I don't even know at what point I actually learned, and I still don't completely. But learned how things went from like state level or whatever to the federal appeals and back and forth, and then the Supreme Court. I didn't even understand that till somewhere in the past maybe 5 years, maybe during the Trump term, it became more apparent to me how it worked. But like most people don't understand that. Like when some of the judge rules and then they think that's the end all be all, and then you hear it got overturned by another court, and then it's kind of silly, but yeah,
it's a silly system. I mean, I try to remind people all the time, American law is always white man's law. And I'm not trying to make it like, oh, here goes about race again. But what I mean by that is like, look at Trump being the president again. Yeah, that's I could put it in a concise way like that. I ain't gotta explain it. You get exactly what I'm saying. These laws, the fact that my uncle got to serve time in prison for having a nickel bag, but Trump can have espionage boxes in his bathroom, and those boxes are going where now? Back to Mar-a-Lago. He took them back to Mar-a-Lago just to poke in our eye. So the idea that this law, it means something, like, oh, the courts will save. This is what Chuck Schumer said on The View. We'll play that maybe on Sunday. But his clip from The View, and Sonny Holston's face was like, because it's like, if you're telling us as American people that you're holding out for the courts, then what the hell are you doing? Then get the hell out the way. Go again, as I say, go get a podcast mic. Yeah. If you're not doing anything to fight them, if you're not doing anything to throw sand in the gears, you're not doing anything to trip them up, and you're just hoping that this right-wing Supreme Court will, I don't know, do the right thing, who laid the ground or the predicate for this by saying he's immune from all charges, go with God. But speaking of Chuck Schumer,
well, real quick, I have no idea, no doubt that Trump was on some fuckery with Epstein. He showed up on that list. Question. He was best friends.
No question.
This is and people forget.
She's high.
I don't know if they forget, but this is a man who literally said he would go into the dressing rooms of teen pageants.
Trump said this?
And walk around because he owned it.
What?
Okay, like, but those same
I wish
people,
I knew that before.
Those
I wish
same
I did
people
before
last night
worried
about these drag shows or whatever. Like they have nothing to say about that. That's their man.
What?
And so
he said, I think he said he would fuck his own daughter too. What? I wish I knew that before the election.
He did in some words or less, but yeah.
What?
Also, yeah.
And he said he hopes he hopes Tiffany has the same breasts as Marla Mabel's. So, again, it's all hypocrisy. But again, white man's law, white man's vision is what this country is built up. It's all myth. It's all myth making. And the very fact that we are here belies that myth. Because if these people are so great, why are these Negroes here? If this country is so great, why are them Asians here to build them railroads?
Yep.
But anyway, moving on to our last international folks. I know this is probably just talking, but I still want to hit on this because I don't care, because this shit was crazy. A couple of days ago, Israel broke the ceasefire with Hamas to go to phase 2. If I'm not saying I'm a Mark Lamont Hill here. I don't have a PhD in Middle East studies, but I've read countless books on the situation in Palestine and Israeli occupation and invading, dating back to the late 1800s. Israel has broken over 400 ceasefires with Palestinians. This is textbook what they do. There's always a phase 1, and they never get to phase 2. They have never gotten to a single phase 2. Now you might say, but those Palestinians, those dirty Arabs, it's their fault. It's their fault. But that belies what the Israelis say. Netanyahu himself, folks. Netanyahu himself said it was reported that he ordered the strikes because talks weren't progressing. What? You're going to start bombing because talks weren't progressing? That doesn't make sense on no one's scale.
Right.
And it was reported that he consulted with the White House before he did this. So all those white folks were like, oh, Trump's the anti-war president. And then also they bombed the shit out of Yemen. All Yemen was doing was standing in solidarity. They're actually doing what America should be doing, what Britain should be doing. They were stopping they were trying to get in the way of those who were causing genocide. That is it's not only a moral obligation, it is a duty as a nation to stop someone who is committing human rights violations. So they were actually doing the legal thing.
Right.
And now Yemen has been categorized as the poorest country in the world. And they just bombed the shit out of them too. But a few days ago, when they broke the ceasefire, over 400 deaths of Palestinians.
So many.
And at this point, so many. And I guess there's about 24 hostages left. That's it. We're down to 24. 414 dead. The majority of them children and women, and a few men, and half are women, half are children, a few men. I'm sure they were innocent, because that's what happens when you get bombed in tents by 2,000-pound bombs.
And then
you get blown to smithereens.
And then the argument is these people shouldn't support Hamas. Like, these people, first off, if your land was being attacked and you had no one, like, Hamas is your only hope. You have to put, like, I'm not saying like I'm pro Hamas, but I'm just saying, like, that's literally who else would you like? Who do you have? Who? Like, so if that's who you turn to, but these are the people who were put in a position that, like, that's who overtook their government, tyrant like, but they're using that as the excuse to basically get what they wanted in this
right.
land. And so and I don't know I don't give a shit who it is that you're saying that gives you the license to kill children, kill women, kill
exactly
people, and as many people as you killed, whether they're men or women and children.
That's right.
They're not going after just Hamas. They're literally just going after
they've never been going after
indiscriminately. And the Democrats have nothing to stand on because they supported it. And then when you have people like Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate
Joe Biden,
minority leader,
Kamala Harris,
who equates anti-genocide, anti-Israel with being anti-Semitic, like, what, bro? Like,
right. I have to like these images of seeing crushed babies' skulls and lifeless babies, and if I don't like that. If I don't like seeing lifeless children our baby's age, when you see those babies, you think of your own children. You think of when you hold your daughter and you hug her and she's little and she's smiling, she's laughing at daddy. And if your heart doesn't break, there is something wrong with you. And if my heart does break, that makes me anti-Semitic. But again, if Malcolm X, James Baldwin, Martin Luther King, Angela Davis, Nelson Mandela all fought for Palestinian freedom and liberation decades ago, I ain't talking about October 7th. They've been fighting for this shit in the 60s. And all of a sudden, Michael Rappaport and Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden want to call me an anti-Semite?
Yeah, and
this is the problem with the party that's supposed to be the human rights party.
Well, they used to be able to hide behind the fact that social media didn't exist, that these images
People
weren't
didn't
really
know.
making their way. I didn't know for much of my life.
I didn't know for a
I always
long time.
knew there was conflict, and it was like, well, that's
peace in the Middle East.
Middle East. That's exactly what I was saying. Peace to the Middle East. Like that was, but
that's all you knew, right?
That's all I knew. Like now that these images,
that's
and that's what TikTok and I've known for many years now, in the past decade or whatever, but more than that. But like it's hard to refute when you're seeing that, and that's why you mentioned on our show before, like the TikTok was, I mean, it was putting it out there front and center for people to see, and that was
there was
one
no
reason
filter.
They couldn't control it. And that was one reason that they were trying to get a control of TikTok. I don't know what happened with that, by the way.
Right. I mean, at this point, Trump done forgot about that shit. Trump done forget. Like he's like, I don't even know.
Voted? Okay, well,
we got to call it the District of America, no longer District of Columbia. But like, so I just want to at least touch on that because as someone who does go to protests, and there's a guy I was telling you about it in our text thread or in our text message, Raw Too Real. And he's one of these people, and I think, and I get it. He's big time Democratic shill. And again, I'm a Democratic chair, but I also understand that I'm black first. And I don't, and white folks, if you're still listening, I'm going to be very clear. I don't hate white people, but I do hate oppression. I hate oppression if it happens to black people. I hate oppression if it happens to Palestinians. I hate oppression if it happens to trans people. I hate oppression if it happens to women who are white. I hate oppression if there was some alien that came down and they said, all these white men are going to be slaves. I would hate that shit too. So I hate oppression. And when folks want to try to, make excuses for it. So Raw Too Real, he's a very loud, flamboyant, kind of this TikTok / politics guy. He made a video today about, all y'all pro-Palestinian people. And of course, there's like this cadre of clips of like, some Arab person in Michigan that was like, I can't vote for Kamala Harris. And are y'all happy now? The ceasefire is broken. Are y'all happy now? And this is a very, very cruel and very, very disgusting argument. Because the thing is, you didn't give a shit 5 months ago. And you don't give a shit now. Babies, there's been kids who have been born after October 7th who have been killed in this genocide. So their whole life was genocide. They didn't give a fuck who won this election because they was going to die. What did I say on the first time I met you, or on one of our first podcasts? Who is my enemy? America's my enemy. I can still be the chair of the Democratic Party and still recognized as a black man. America's my enemy. And who co-signed every bullet, every bomb, and funded financially, and also gave diplomatic cover in the UN. America has vetoed every single resolution to hold Israel to account, except for one time under Barack Obama, where America abstained.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder, and I knew like, and I felt like Biden back in October 2023 gave away the election by coming to Netanyahu in defense of Netanyahu and Israel, because it didn't really make sense to me. And I thought he lost the election back then. And
Netanyahu wanted Trump the whole time.
And even now, you think about, well, what is the American interest in Israel? Because especially now, because for Trump, I honestly think that he just sees it as like Netanyahu is like, yeah, you can build your hotels and real estate, but like
Trump's gonna be
dead. I think that's literally all you had to tell Trump. And he was like, okay, like, because he sold out this country for $300 million. That's like getting it at the bargain bin on the last day when it's like 25 cents. So it's like,
Miriam Adelson gave him $100 million. She was Sheldon Adelson's wife, the heir apparent, and their goal was to get the embassy moved to Jerusalem, right? During Trump's first term. Then she gave them $100 million to make sure that they could do what? Annex the West Bank.
$100 million.
So you're like, what was America's interest? It's Trump's interest. But the thing is, America has always done this. They don't give a fuck
for
about
Biden, because it was what the presence to have in that region. The what I mean, like seriously, what is it? Especially at this point now.
There's oil on the coast of Gaza. Also, there's a canal they want to build, but it has to cut through Gaza.
Okay,
and that could be the new modern.
But what does that do
Silk
for
Road.
what does that do for America? Like other than the endless pursuit of oil, like I mean, I don't even think Trump I don't even.
He's not thinking that. No. Right.
But seriously,
these are those. Well, one, you got the Zionists, then you have the Christian Zionists. So they're actually working together, but it's ironically competing against each other because the Christian Zionists want Israel to exist, so one day God can come back there and kill all of them. So it's actually ironically anti-Semitic that they want that shit to happen, but the Zionists feel like they can use the Christian Zionists to be able to take over all of that land and spread to greater, what they call it, greater Israel, and go into Syria, go into Iraq, go into Lebanon, and have. I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of it, how huge the territory they want. Netanyahu held a picture up and said, "This is going to be greater Israel." And everybody's like, "Hold on, you cutting into Egypt, into Africa?" I mean, it's crazy,
bro. Just put
it's a psychopath.
Just put women in charge at this point because this ain't working anymore for me. Like this is silliness and all
it's
this.
Wild.
Like, from the beginning of time, all this conflict, and it's like in here you got men stirring shit up again and wanting to rechange the maps in the world and rechange alliances and manifest destiny of the entire North America and all this crazy shit. It just, to me, it's
these motherfuckers use biblical text to say why they should have like manifest destiny, the Zionists, the Bible says this is our land, but they can't look back to the turn of the century of the folks who was there, because Mexicans was in this land before anybody, but manifest destiny, but they can't look at the beginning of the turn of the century. Same thing with the Zionists. They can't look at the turn of the century who was here, Palestinians. So, but the last thing I'm going to say about this is that Raw Too Real, in this video he posted, I commented, I said, this is a cruel thing that you posted. I got ate up by his fan base. You don't really care. You was for Trump. And I'm like, motherfucker, I was knocking doors for Kamala Harris. But they think they're, you got a moral hierarchy. And what I always tell people, moral hierarchy is the work of white supremacy. What I have is moral consistency. If I'm going to hold that motherfucker to account for doing an atrocity, I can't look at these people and be like, shut up, because like, what did you want Arab people to do?
And now's the time to be critical. Like
September
2026, I'll be like, yo, pay Ron, yo, we gotta win this shit. Shut up. Like no, but for real, I had a hope. I had to build a hope in this idea that Kamala Harris was towing the line to appease Biden and to not overstep the president.
Oh, did you hear about that article that just came out?
I didn't. I didn't.
From ProPublica that said where Joe Biden called her right before he called her right before the debate with Trump, and he said, "Hey, kiddo, no daylight."
No daylight
between them.
Oh, gotcha.
No daylight.
And see, and so that was my son. And I've said it before that Biden did not give her the latitude to be able to speak out against it, and
or do her own thing. Even she didn't speak out, she could have done a bunch of other shit and could have won.
Right. She could have just let the Palestinians speak, or she and the DNC could have just let us Palestinians speak, and that would have had some weight. But regardless,
change something.
Regardless, yeah, I mean, I had to, I had to say, I had to vote for the lesser evil in that regard, right? Like, because I knew that Trump would be not only worse on that issue, but worse
everything else
for everyone else. And so, for me, it was still an easy decision. But damn,
yeah, no question.
But damn, like,
but the point of his video was trying to blame the Arab people, and I try to remind them in the comments. I'm like, there's not enough Arab voters. They could have made a difference. They're less than 2% of the population.
Yeah, but it also wasn't just Arabs that were feeling this way. So
sure, but like there wasn't 7 million pro-Palestinian voters. Let me be clear about it. There wasn't. If y'all believe out there were 7 million people that believed in a free Palestine. No, okay. They were turned off by, I dare I say, her rightward lurch. You know, because I don't need to go get I don't need Coke, Diet Coke if I got real Coke.
Yeah, I think
And
Jill
that's what
Stein
she
was
was
evidence
offering.
of that, like a little bit, like her very weak turnout.
Yeah. It was the worst third party showing of any election in the past like countless years. So what these people were not interested. And that's how Trump won. That's how fascists always win. All right, folks, we are well over time. I wanted to do 1 hour. We had 150.
Thanks for joining us on a Wednesday because
yeah,
you know, this is an off day, but tomorrow I'm going.
Is this live or is this?
Yeah, we went live because you posted live, so we went live. So yeah.
What's up, baby? Boom.
So
hey,
yeah, well, there was a lot to talk about still.
Share, subscribe. Folks, we can't do this without you. If you're still watching, probably not, but it's okay.
We got to do this at the beginning. We got to get used to it.
Yeah, but it's okay. Fuck it. Hey, we're still learning. So again, if you got this far, if you're watching on a replay, thank you for watching. Thank you. Hopefully you got some gems. Please leave us some comments. Shoot us a note. Send us a DM on social media. But we're here for you to educate you through our lens and through our intellect and through our passion. And folks, we will see you on Sunday.